The Galactic Military Academy's simulation chamber hummed with quantum processors working at maximum capacity. Commander Zixathara, a towering Altarian with crystalline skin that reflected the chamber's blue glow, watched the readouts with growing concern. The terror simulation they had designed specifically for the human exchange student was pushing their most advanced systems to their limits. "Status report," she commanded, her voice carrying the harmonic undertones typical of her species. "Ma'am, the simulation is operating at 127% normal parameters," reported Lieutenant Kelvorn, his tentacles dancing nervously over the control panel. "The human subject appears to be adapting." Through the observation window they could see Marcus Chen, the first human to attend the academy in over 3 centuries. He stood in what should have been a nightmarish hellscape, a carefully crafted amalgamation of every known species' deepest fears. Shadowy creatures with too many teeth stalked through environments that defied physics, while reality itself seemed to twist and writhe around him. Marcus was taking notes. "Computer, increase scenario intensity to level 8. Commander Zixathara ordered. Warning. Level 8 exceeds recommended safety parameters for most sentient species, the AI responded. Override. This is a human we're dealing with. The simulation responded instantly. The already horrifying landscape became a canvas of pure terror. Creatures materialized that existed only in the deepest nightmares of a dozen worlds. The very air became thick with dread, designed to trigger primal fear responses that had evolved over millions of years. Marcus looked up from his notes, glanced around at the new additions, and shrugged. "Fascinating," he muttered, approaching what appeared to be a writhing mass of shadow and screaming faces. "The quantum rendering on this is incredible. How are you maintaining cohesion with this many simultaneous manifestations?" The creature, designed to drive viewers to madness through its mere existence, recoiled slightly from Marcus's clinical examination. "Sir," Lieutenant Kelvorn reported, his voice rising an octave, "the simulation's fear response algorithms are starting to cascade. The constructs they're developing their own anxiety patterns." Commander Zixathara's crystalline features shifted to display her confusion. "That's impossible. These are artificial constructs designed to invoke fear, not experience it." On the screen, Marcus had pulled out what appeared to be a small measuring device and was scanning one of the nightmare creatures. The being, a towering amalgamation of every predator that had ever haunted Kelvorn's homeworld, was backing away from the human with something that could only be described as nervous uncertainty. "Computer, what is the human's current stress level?" the commander demanded. "Human subjects' cortisol levels are within normal parameters. Heart rate is slightly elevated, consistent with mild interest rather than fear. Adrenaline levels suggest excitement. Excitement? Zixathara's harmonic voice cracked slightly. The situation deteriorated rapidly from there. As Marcus continued his enthusiastic documentation of the simulation's contents, something unprecedented began to happen. The nightmare constructs, beings of pure terror given digital form, started to malfunction. A creature made of living darkness flickered uncertainly. A beast with 17 mouths full of razored teeth whimpered. "Ma'am," Kelvorn's tentacles were now flailing in panic. "The simulation matrix is destabilizing. The fear constructs are experiencing what the computer is classifying as existential dread." "How is that possible?" "Unknown. But their terror-inducing algorithms are inverting. Instead of projecting fear, they're beginning to experience it themselves." Through the observation window, they watched Marcus approach, a towering demon whose very presence was supposed to drive mortals to madness. The creature was huddled in a corner, occasionally peering at the human, through what might charitably be called fingers, if one ignored the fact that they ended in claws designed to tear through reinforced titanium. "Hey there, buddy," Marcus said gently, the way one might address a frightened animal. "I'm not going to hurt you. I just want to understand how your fear projection matrix works. It's really quite elegant." The demon made a sound that the computer's translation protocols could only render as a confused whimper. "Sir, we're getting cascade failures throughout the simulation," Kelvorn reported. "The quantum processors can't handle the recursive fear loops. The constructs designed to be feared are now terrified of being studied? Abort the simulation, Commander Zixthara ordered. I can't. The abort protocols are locked out. The system thinks it's protecting the constructs from the human. In the simulation, Marcus had somehow produced a small notebook and was sketching diagrams of the cowering monsters. Each creature he studied seemed to diminish slightly, their forms becoming less terrifying and more pathetic. Warning, the computer announced. Simulation matrix approaching critical failure. Terror constructs are requesting extraction from scenario. Repeat. The monsters are asking to be rescued from the human subject. The lights in the observation chamber began to flicker as the quantum processors overheated. Alarms blared throughout the facility. Through it all, Marcus continued his research, completely oblivious to the chaos he was causing. Ma'am, Kelvorn said weakly, I think we need to evacuate the facility. Commander Zixthara watched as her academy's most sophisticated terror simulation, designed to challenge the psychological limits of any sentient being, collapsed into digital chaos because a human had approached it with scientific curiosity instead of fear. Note for the record, she said, her voice barely a whisper. Humans are no longer permitted in standard terror simulations. Also, request an upgrade to our quantum processors. The simulation chamber finally shut down with a sound like a sigh of relief. Marcus emerged 20 minutes later, grinning and holding a data pad full of notes. That was amazing, he exclaimed, though I think your system might need some debugging. A few of those constructs seemed really nervous about something. Commander Zixthara stared at the human for a long moment, then made a decision that would change Academy policy forever. Mr. Chen, she said carefully, how would you feel about helping us design our next-generation training simulations? Marcus's eyes lit up with enthusiasm. The Academy's maintenance staff immediately began planning their vacation schedules.